Our next guest will take on Chad Mendes on April 4th at UFC in the headlining fight. He's coming off a very slick finish over Dennis Bermudez at UFC Mexico. Ricardo Lamas, welcome back to Submission Radio.
Thanks a lot, man. Thanks for having me.
Hey, it's always good to chat to you, Ricardo. While it seems like a blur, you were last in the octagon at UFC Mexico in November. You've managed to have a bit of a break in between fights. Tell us, what have you been up to during your break?
A lot of stuff going on in my personal life. I got married, I have a baby on the way, and just kind of dealing with all that as it comes and training on the side.
Whoa, married and a baby. That's crazy. Congratulations, Ricardo. Hey, just wondering, before we continue on with the normal questions, has that changed you at all? Like your perspective at MMA and the sport at all now that you're a married man and a father?
It's definitely given me kind of a newfound motivation. And, I always used providing for a future family as part of my motivation for training and fighting and all that. But now it's just, it's real. It's something that I have to do. So it definitely pushes me to work harder in the gym.
Yeah, absolutely, we bet. Ricardo, we want to look at one of your tweets. On February 27th, you tweeted that if Sun City, Arizona was smart, they'd have me on a plane right now to come handle this llama problem. Hashtag llama wrangler. Did they end up calling the problem solver in to handle the situation, Ricardo?
No, they did not. They just let those llamas run loose forever. And I think a couple people finally lassoed them. But, if they wanted to get the job done the right way, they should have given me a call.
Unbelievable. Sun City, Arizona, what are you thinking? Now, unlike the llama wrangling, your opponent, Chad Mendes, he's a tough challenge. Out of everyone that you fought thus far, do you see him as one of your toughest opponents, Ricardo?
I see every opponent that I have as my toughest one to date. Every fight that I have, I take as the most important fight of my career. So this one is no different. And I would say that, yes, he's definitely one of the toughest opponents I've ever had.
A while back, after you went over Bermudez, you mentioned, I believe it was to MMA Junkie, that Conor McGregor was the next fight that you were interested in. What were your initial thoughts when you found out you'd be fighting Chad Mendes? Were you happy that you'd be fighting Chad, or were you disappointed that you wouldn't be able to, fight Conor at the time that you wanted to?
I knew that fighting Conor was going to be a long shot. I knew they were kind of grooming him for a title shot, especially if he would have won over Dennis Siver. So with that being said, I knew that it was either going to be Chad Mendes or Frankie Edgar that they'd match me up with, and it came, it was no surprise to me when they called us up with the opportunity to fight Chad. So I was already prepared for it and said, yeah, let's do it.
I think I'm going to know your answer to the next question, but obviously a lot of people know that the winner of this fight will probably get a title shot at whoever wins between McGregor and Aldo. In this case, will you be trying to make a big statement against Chad in this fight to really guarantee that next title shot?
I try to make a statement in every fight. You have to go in there and you have to perform and you have to finish fights. That's what the people want to see, and that's what moves you ahead in line. So I'll definitely be looking to do that.
Well, you definitely made a great statement against Dennis Bermudez. Talk to us about the matchup ahead. How do you stack up against Chad Mendes, and what do you think your strengths are against him?
I think I stack up well against anyone. I'm a very tenacious fighter, and I keep moving forward. And the more damage you do to me, it kind of fuels me to keep going. I push past pain, I push past fatigue, and that's going to be one of my biggest strengths going into this fight. And, I just think it's going to be a great fight for all the fans to see.
Well, Chad said that he'll be looking for a KO of the night in your fight. Against a guy like Chad, where do you see most of the fight taking place? Obviously, you'll just sort of play it by ear and let it come. But what do you think? More on the feet or on the ground in this one?
I can honestly see it going anywhere. We're both great wrestlers. We both have great stand-up. We're both comfortable on our feet. So this fight has the ability to really go anywhere.
Now, Chad mentioned when he was on the show that your striking is decent, however, that some of his advantages are speed and power. Also, he mentioned that he thought you were most dominant when you're on top, and that's basically one of his strongest defenses. What do you think of Chad's analysis of the fight?
Everybody, no matter who you're asking, everybody's going to think they're better at this and that, but the real answers will come on April 4th. So, I think that I stand well against him in any division of the sport. You know what I mean? Whether we're standing up, whether we're on the ground, whatever. I think I can hang in there with him no matter what we're doing.
It's going to be an exciting matchup. Now, I don't know if you know this, Ricardo, but here in Melbourne, Australia, there's the Comedy Festival that's coming up. And I almost feel like they need to allocate a spot to yourself because you've done some very, very good work, my friend, in the field of comedy. Some of your videos about Conor McGregor have been hilarious. All fans around the world have been enjoying them. It's a different side of Ricardo Lamas as well that everybody loves seeing. It seemed like it's something that you really enjoyed doing as well. Tell us, for the fans that don't know, how did you get into doing these videos, and is it something that you just enjoy doing?
It was the McGregor video was kind of an idea that I had for a while, and it kind of got put on the back burner for a while there. And after my Mexico fight, I kind of had some time off, so I thought it'd be, a good time to just put a funny video together and release it. And I'm just trying to have fun with my job now. The previous year I was really stressed out with trying to fight for the title shot and all that, and now I just want to have fun with what I'm doing.
Yeah, absolutely. It seems like the videos actually sort of bothered Conor a little bit. Do you think that these kinds of techniques are slowly sort of getting into Conor's head a little bit?
I think it definitely bothered him, and that was kind of the point. He's always one that talks trash about other people, and he doesn't like it too much when the tables are turned. So it was good to give him a dose of his own medicine.
Well, Ricardo, you said an interesting comment during your interview as well, the Stephen McGregor fight. You said that it's a bit of fun, and then if Conor wants to dish it out, he can take it too. Does it seem that although McGregor, he's an expert trash talker, he takes a lot of comments directed at him to heart?
I don't know. He claims that nothing phases him, but I think that the video that I made definitely got under his skin, and I think if anything, it'll make him want to fight me and help me towards that goal of mine.
You were in a bit of an awkward situation where Paddy O'Houlihan tried to confront you backstage. He looked really genuinely upset about the clips. That must have been a pretty awkward situation for you. What did you make of that whole thing?
I didn't really know what he was saying. He has quite a thick Irish accent. So, the only thing I got in the beginning, he said that video was shite. So I knew he didn't like the video too much. But after that was just a blur of question marks in my head. I didn't know what he was saying. So it wasn't really awkward for me. It was, he might as well have been speaking French or something because I had no idea what he was complaining about.
That's hilarious. You've been in the octagon with Jose Aldo recently, and we had TJ Dillashaw on the show who said he thought McGregor stood a chance as the fight won't go to the ground. Do you envision Conor having a chance when he fights Aldo?
I think anybody has a chance against anyone in this sport. That's what makes this sport so great, and TJ Dillashaw was a prime example of that. I think everybody counted him out against Burrell, and he went in there and he put on a clinic, and I would never count anybody out of a fight.
Now, this is a bit of a different question here, Ricardo, but everybody's wondering this, and we have to ask it. With the big Reebok deal approaching, have you heard any more details on how the deal will affect you? And are you looking forward to the changes come July? Because it is pretty soon.
I have not heard any specifics yet as far as numbers of what we're going to be paid. So we're just kind of waiting on that, and I hope it works out to where I'm at least making the same as I'm making now for my sponsors, because I have a lot of great sponsors that take care of me right now.
A lot of fighters have come out and sort of said like, we may be losing money and this and that, but I guess you sort of hit the nail on the head. A lot of people don't actually know what you'll be getting. Assuming that you get what you get with your current sponsors, would you see it as a good thing, the Reebok deal? Would you be happy with the deal if that was the case?
If I was getting the same amount of money that I'm getting right now, yeah, I think it's a good deal.
Yeah, it's definitely a good move for the sport in a lot of directions. Now, Ricardo, obviously, you've got thousands and thousands of fans here in Australia, across America, and in Asia as well, New Zealand. We haven't forgotten about you. We've got a couple of fan questions here for you. The first one is from Knight Rider 89. He goes, Ricardo, you recently tweeted, man, ... when is everyone going to learn ? #, your piss won't lie for you. What was your reaction when you found out Anderson Silva tested positive for steroids? And what are your thoughts on the rampant PEDs in MMA?
I was just disappointed. He was such a great ambassador for the sport, and it kind of taints his image a little bit. And, if I was in charge of everything, I would say it's, zero tolerance. You get caught once using steroids and you're out of the sport. We need to legitimize this sport, and we don't have any room for cheaters to be in here, using PEDs and steroids.
This is just a side question, Ricardo, but obviously the UFC had that press conference and they addressed the PEDs, and they said that first offenders as of July, they could be catching 2 years, 4 years. Matt Brown was saying he wants 5 years. I take it you were happy with those kind of changes.
Yeah, I think the harsher the penalty, the better. Like I said, we need to get rid of all this stuff. This is it's been too many people that have been getting caught with all this, and it's just becoming ridiculous.
Ricardo, I'll go to the next fan question. The Regal King, Ricardo. His question is, Ricardo, out of all the awesome fights you've had, what would you say is your favorite?
Out of the Australian fights?
No, just say any. He said out of the awesome fights. So any fights. What was your favorite?
Oh, okay. I'd say Shogun versus Henderson was one of my favorites. I remember I was just on the edge of my chair the whole time, like jumping all around. So that was one that really sticks out in my head.
What about one of your fights? Like out of your fights that you fought, which one did you say is your favorite thus far?
I think the last one is probably my favorite thus far. It just meant a lot to me to be on the first card in Mexico, being half Mexican, and the crowd was behind me 100%, and it was just an awesome feeling.
And then we've got the last fan question here, Ricardo, from Goodnight Charlie. Goodnight Charlie is going, if everything goes to plan and it looks like you versus Conor McGregor for the title later on this year, what's your prediction? How would you be beating Conor McGregor?
My prediction would be the same as any other. I'm going to go in there and finish the fight. I think that he's lacking in the wrestling part of mixed martial arts, and I'd expose his weakness.
Now, Ricardo, before we finish the interview, of course, we have to do the Submission Radio Tap-Out round with you. You're no stranger to this. A whole bunch of fun questions, and you answer with the first thing that comes to mind. So I'll kick it off. Ricardo, you enjoy going to dog shows, and you have an obsession with the Napoleon Mastiff. Is this true?
Yeah, I was watching the dog show on TV, and the Napoleon Mastiff came on, and it just looked like a real cool dog to me. So those and English Bull Terriers, I'm pretty obsessed.
Sorry, I feel like this is so unexpected coming from you. I don't know if you're familiar with the Seinfeld episode where Desperado comes on and those people just go into their own zone. Is it like that for you as well, Ricardo, when the Napoleon Mastiff comes on?
It's the obsession isn't that bad. Actually, my obsession with the English Bull Terriers is a lot worse. I have a bar in the basement of my house that's completely decorated with like Spuds MacKenzie and English Bull Terrier memorabilia, and
wow.
I own 2 of them, so I'd say that's the bigger obsession.
Wow, they have memorabilia? That's crazy. It must be like a signed trading card or something. Now, speaking of Seinfeld, Ricardo, we saw you celebrated Festivus over the Christmas period. Happy delayed Festivus to yourself. Sorry we weren't there. We couldn't make it this year. Tell us, how did the airing of the grievances go?
The airing of grievances went well, and so did the feats of strength. People, I had a lot of bones to pick with people, and they heard about it.
Well, what about yourself? What did they bring anything up about Ricardo Lamas that sort of was a bit sour?
Of course not, man. I'm perfect.
They would have lost their train of thought anyway. Now, you mentioned on Twitter, UFC put us up in an old creepy hotel. These long hallways remind me of the hotel from The Shining. If I see a pair of bloodied up twin girls, I'm drop kicking their asses. Any close experiences with ghosts that you can share with us, Ricardo?
No, actually, one of the PR people had some weird experiences in that hotel. Her closet door seemed to have opened by itself. I guess she said it was closed, and then she went to the washroom. When she came out, the door was wide open. So that would have kind of freaked me out. But luckily, I didn't have any experiences at that hotel, so I was good.
Well, Ricardo, you also tweeted out a while back during a flight a picture of a couple saying, I think the couple next to me on the plane are trying for the My High Club. Hashtag I'm watching you. Hashtag no funny business. So my question to you is, what is it about sitting next to Ricardo Lamas that ignites passion between couples on planes?
I don't know. It's just my Latin fiery blood, I guess. We're very passionate people, so it just kind of rubs off.
Jesus. I hope Dennis and I never sit next to you on a plane, Ricardo, just being honest.
I hope so, too.
Ricardo, I've got a couple of questions. Now, this is going to be an interesting one. Some of these are fan requests, and they actually wanted to ask a few questions of Conrad McGillicuddy. I don't know how available he is at the time, but we're just wondering if it's possible to ask Conrad a couple of questions.
Sure, go ahead.
All right, Conrad, how do you see the fight going with Jose Aldo?
I see myself getting punched in the face a lot. That's about it.
Now, Conrad, why do you have a tattoo of a giraffe on your chest?
Because it's really intimidating. You know, it's a giraffe eating a person's arm off. And that's what I do. I go into fights and I chew people's arms off. I take their arms clean off.
Conrad, do you have a message for the fans listening today?
No, I just want to say thanks for all the support. And, you know, I love being here.
Final question from the fans, Conrad. What's something that fans don't know about you, a secret that you still haven't told anybody?
One time I made out with a transvestite in a bar. But don't tell anyone that.
That's awesome, Ricardo. And back to you, Ricardo. You know, if you could come back for the last tap out round question, give us your predictions. What's the official prediction? How do you see yourself beating Chad Mendes?
I'm going for a KO, man. You know, I want to give the people what they want to see, and everybody wants to see a knockout.
Absolutely right. Well, guys, you can watch Ricardo take on Chad Mendes on April 4th at UFC Fight Night 63, and make sure to follow him on Twitter. Clearly, you can see he's got some hilarious tweets at Ricardo Lamas MMA. Ricardo, it's always a pleasure.
Thanks a lot, guys.